Hello, Brian here.
Hey, Brian, it's Julia. We can hear you.
Good. Hey, Julia, I just got a phone back. And so
Yeah.
bear with me.
We'll
Hey,
do it.
Julia,
Yes?
are they going to open the road on Friday?
I spoke to Ed this morning, and we're actually going to announce it in the formal meeting, but yes, for now, unless something goes horribly wrong between now and Friday, it will be open by the end of day on Friday.
Thank God.
Yeah, it's been, a lot of people are going to be very happy that that's back up and running again.
I know. Yep. Yeah, I know. Well, it's gonna be interesting. Okay. Jacob in?
Yep, he's here.
Yep, I'm here, Brian.
It's
Hi.
me.
How you doing?
Good, how about you?
Very hot. Very hot.
Yeah, that's fair. It's certainly not gonna cool down for a few days. In the last
No, I
week.
know. Maybe I'll come over there.
Yes, right now, how am I supposed to like do this and all my other work?
Is that Ron?
Hello, how are you? Hope you're staying cool.
No, I'm not at all.
You're not
It's
at all.
amazing. No. No, no air up here. And a lot of traffic. But Julia took care of that, I hope.
We're working on it, and by we, I mean PennDOT, but
I know. Hollow Road's a nice little road. That's where it should be.
Martha,
Holy God. And we have soccer tonight. Hey.
How long is the meeting?
Hey, Robert.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How about you?
Good.
Okay, Steve got video and audio.
Okay. Perfect.
Don't get excited.
Hey, hey,
Excited.
how could I be any, more excited, Debbie? I mean, this is,
On
This
an
is-
off night.
everyone loves spending their, Wednesday evenings like
I,
that.
I even brought my guest who's visiting from out of town, because I said, you haven't experienced anything till you experience the municipal.
Local
meeting."
government.
Come to work, yes.
Oh, I've been to a few local.
I'm back.
Okay, all right, good. Now we have our full complement. Evening, everyone. This is the regular meeting of Smithfield Township Board of Supervisors. You may be reciting the-
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Members present include myself, Chairman Jacob Pride, Vice Chair Robert Lovenheim via Zoom, Supervisor Brian Barrett via Zoom, Township Manager Julie Harlica, Engineer John Tressler, and Solicitor Ron Karasak. So members of the public. In terms of announcements, we have a couple. Kings Pond Road is open now. The pipe project is complete. We expect Hollow Road and the bridge to be open by the end of the day on July 28th. So here's. You okay? Just noticed your thing went off. Minnesink Park is scheduled to be partially closed on July 31st. That is for our tree cutting project. We open from Tuesday to Thursday of that week. That's weather dependent, but that's gonna make sure that no one gets crushed by trees. We're taking it down, and then the partial closure will allow for, sports activities to take place during that. I think I got all three of those. Next is, consideration of the minutes from the July 12th, 2023 meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve said minutes?
Motion to,
Motion.
Motion by Robert and Brian, second by myself. Any questions? All in
Aye.
aye,
any public hearings or plans to act on? So I will proceed over to reports. Ron, anything you want?
I had just sent over to the township earlier this afternoon my written report for the month of June, so it's there in case anyone would want to review it as time goes by. There's really nothing to report other than the yeoman's work that has to be done with this airstrip road condemnation. I just brought these came in the last week that have to be read and reviewed. So, no, it's just taking a lot of time. Of course, we have the money in escrow to pay for my time on this project, so that's good. At least the township's not paying it out of their pocket, but there's only so much I can do with one man, and I know that everyone wants to get this done yesterday, but doing the best I can. But other than that, everything else is, under control. The water gap case, it was the application for the argument was denied. So basically now if they want to do anything, they have to file a petition with the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court is not a court of right. It's a discretionary court, just like the US Supreme Court. So they can decide whether they want to hear the case or not. I think it would be surprising to me if the Supreme Court would want to hear the case, but if it does, so be it. If not, then that case is over. For purposes of that, we now, of course, starting to gear up the County Preservation Society case. Preliminary objections have been filed on behalf of the township, and I believe those have been filed recently by the attorney for Mr. Hunter. So they will be reviewed, and the only pressing plan that I know of at this point is the Franklin Hill, and I'm not sure where that might be. I think there was an extension given on that.
Yes.
And then the Brian Fish application, preliminary land development, not land development. Preliminary final subdivision that came in about a month or so ago. And I think John's review letter just came in today on that. And other than the usual things, that pretty much is, pretty much it. But again, I have a written report and anyone's certainly free to review it if they have any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
I have one item that isn't on the agenda, which I should probably report on, so everyone's up to speed. We've kicked off the Green Mountain Drive bridge project. And that is being coordinated by PennDOT's coordinator. And we had our first scheduled meeting with them this week. And that was pretty much a kickoff meeting, and we were trying to see where we stood with respect to, first of all, there's a lot of confusion as to whether they had the right bridge number or not. I think we got that resolved. I was able to do some research and resolve that. Okay. My research also showed, however, that we're probably going to need to get some right of way for the wing walls. And I'm not even sure. I could not find any records in the courthouse saying whether we still, when I say we, the township still have dedication of Township Road 539, or whether they vacated it. I couldn't find either one. But assuming we still have it, and that isn't an issue, I believe the wing walls are one side of that right of way, so we're gonna have to obtain right of way. So I will move forward with the survey, which we had to do anyway. And I will submit what information you need to Ron and yourselves for everyone.
Good to have that underway for all the people that live there.
Yeah,
It's great. Awesome. Thank you very much for that report. Look forward to hearing more on that. Next is the consideration of the consent agenda, which includes two items, the Loudon and Associates engagement letter for the airstrip road matter, and that's reconfirming prior action of the board, then authorizing the Berkheimer grant fund usage for waterfront park per the letter received from John DeReamer, who was vice president of Berkheimer. So, do I hear a motion?
Okay, Jacob, on the Berkheimer grant, and that was originally issued to us for work at not waterfront, but I think it was over at
Minisink.
what then? Menacing Park, yeah. And I was wondering if we could keep that money. We've had it for some time, and dedicate to Minisink and playground and related equipment, as opposed to going to Waterfront Park. The grant was originally given for a project that was going to be a dinosaur park for young children, and it never came to fruition.
Right. There's the pressing need now for the different pods at waterfront, and John DeReamer said they would be happy for this to be used for one or both of the needs that Lucas had asked about as part of his research when he was on board here. He said we leave the discretion to the township for the best use, and they're happy to contribute to our local communities. I'm sure that if that innocent project ever came back to life, we could simply seek another contribution from them or have another grant for that. But I think that this is the easiest path to go at this point.
All right.
Alright, do I hear a motion on the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Levenheim, second by myself. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Okay, next is
I don't
the
know why.
consideration for the Broadhead Watershed Association request to install a stream gauge at Marshall's Falls. And they kindly provided the township with a release and waiver of liability and hold harmless agreement. Which holds us harmless. They essentially want to utilize their volunteers to install and maintain a mayfly logger stream gauge. And this has been done in a number of other municipalities, and they think this will be a great location for it, and that letter indicating their hold harmless clause is signed by their executive director, Alex Jackson. So Alex is a fantastic guy, and Broadhead is great. BWA does some fantastic work. So do I hear a motion on the Broadhead Watershed Association request?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Levenheim, second by myself. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next is an item with regard to a support letter for the DCD multimodal fund grant. But at this point, due to the ethics guidance that I previously announced, I will recuse myself from the discussion on this, and I will let Julia introduce the topic so the other two supervisors can confer.
Okay, thank you, Jacob. So everyone is aware, the Westfield Partnership is interested in applying for a DCED LSA grant that would give them money related to shifting Franklin Hill Road on 447 where it is now, to realign it with the traffic light at ESE so it is safer. When they originally presented this project to the township, they were applying for a PennDOT multimodal grant, which required the township to be the applicant. The DCED LSA, or excuse me, DCED MTF, Multimodal Transportation Fund, does allow businesses to be the applicant. So they have taken the position of the applicant. And item 5, under the program requirements and other requirements, is proof of notification, which states that the applicant must provide proof that the county and host municipality or municipalities have been notified about the intended project. Past that, they'd like to go one step further and get a letter of support from the township saying, yes, we are aware that this project is going on, and we think it would be a good thing to do. That is the letter that is in front of the board, Ryan at this time, and that's what they're asking for your signature on.
So this is there of no liability to the township. It's really just a support letter. That's all, right?
That's correct. We're not going to be applying for this grant. We will not be eligible for any of the expenses incurred. They just need us to say, yes, we are aware of this.
So I would make a motion to approve.
Well, before that, can I say, didn't they apply for a multimodal grant?
They did apply for the PennDOT multimodal grant and they were denied that application. So going after the DCT MTF is their backup plan.
Yeah. Okay. Robert, you made a motion?
Yeah, I made the motion.
Okay, I'm going to pass on it.
The motion by Mr. Levenheim, and Brian, are you stating that you will not second the motion?
Yes, sir. Right.
Motion fell for a lack of a second.
So then to that point, I will provide a letter to Westfield Partnership stating that the township has been informed that they are applying. And not say that we support the project. Is that acceptable?
Brian, why do you want to deny this since we have no liability in this? It's just a support letter. It's something they're applying for that has nothing to do with us.
Yep, I understand. That's the way I feel.
Okay. Jacob, why are you recusing yourself?
Because it deals with letters of support for grant applications which may appear before my boss or the House of Representatives, and I cannot advocate on our behalf, in both capacities, so.
Well,
That's
but
why.
but this is only a support letter. We're not in any way liable for anything they do. It seems
I
like,
understand that, but I haven't seen it. Robert, DCED grant, I had no idea.
well, that's what it is.
Okay. I knew the multimodal grant didn't go that through PennDOT, but now this new one, I guess, it's a new application. I would like to see their application that is being presented to DCED.
Well, unfortunately, the deadline is July 31st. We were informed of this late, but unless we approve it, they can't apply for the grant. And I think what we all want is the realignment of Franklin Hill Road. One grant was denied, which we did look at extensively. This one, it seems like, since we don't have any liability for their, any monetary liability for if they get it, it's like, why not?
This is Ron talking, and maybe I can make this easy, or maybe not. Under the Pennsylvania Public Ethics Act, it basically states as follows, and I'm going to read it verbatim. In the case of a 3-member governing body of a political subdivision, and that's what we have here, where one member has abstained from voting as a result of a conflict of interest, and the remaining 2 members of the governing body have cast opposing votes, the member who has abstained shall be permitted to vote to break the tie as long as disclosure has been made. And I believe that
The rule of necessity, Ron. Correct?
Sorry.
Yeah. Well,
So I mean, I think that if Jacob wants to, or I'm sorry, Supervisor Fry wants to, he can vote to break the tie if that's what he would like to do. Doesn't have to, but I think he can without being violative of the Public Ethics Act.
If I may comment here, though, without the second from Brian for there to be able to pass the vote, I don't know if we've reached far enough forward that the rule of necessity would apply.
Okay, that could be. I'm assuming that Brian is voting
Well,
against that, but if there is no second, then there's no motion on the floor. So,
right, I've got the motion from Robert, and Brian said that he was not going to second.
okay.
right.
But regardless, I can send them a letter simply stating that the township acknowledges that they're applying and not provide support.
That the township is aware of it. Of that, yeah, okay, that's all. But I haven't read it, I haven't seen it. And the last one, there was an implication that we were going to get involved, but they would cover us and pay us back for any money that would be involved by us.
Right.
I just don't like the way it is. All right.
No,
Anyway, that's my vote is no.
If I recuse myself on this one.
I think you can speak on this fact, I think you can second the motion, you're not voting on it, you're seconding it, which is just putting it on the table for discussion and vote. If you don't want to vote, you can still do that, and then it would still die as a tie, 1-1.
I would say that if I'm able to speak, that the previous time that we approved this, there was potential liability that was then covered by the applicant. And in this case, this is being applied for, and this is asking whether or not we support the same project that we were willing to apply for them on their behalf. So I'm questioning, the conjecture that's about this. I mean, this was fundamentally, without speaking on the merits of this particular application, I mean, that area is unsafe, and this, the lack of municipal support, at least if there's nothing else, you know. Questioning, I don't want to have any issues with my employer, so I'm, you know, I don't think I can second the motion. You know,
Okay.
if you said that was different, you know, I would think about it, but then we're just on a track to making sure I can invoke the rule of necessity. I would think it better if others would reconsider, but.
Okay, so that's your call as the chair and also, as a supervisor, so that's fine. What's the deadline for this, Robert?
July 31st.
Okay. Gonna say maybe we could submit a copy to Brian for him to read and then vote on it, but you're not gonna make that deadline, so, okay. Unless they can get an extension, they meaning the other side or Westfield, etc.
Anything else on the matter before we proceed?
I'd just like to say that I'm perplexed as to why this is so difficult, either for Brian or for Jacob, since there's no liability for the township. As Jacob has said, we've already approved this before where there was some liability. It's the same thing. It's just applying for another grant that might be able to redesign this intersection where
There was
part
there's an implication that we might be involved, and the whole deal was that if we were, and it cost us money, we'd be reimbursed by the applicant. And that's not my way of doing business.
that was the multimodal. This
Their
is just
project, they gotta come up with the money, and that's it. Anyway, that's the way I feel. If you get me that, I'll read it.
But remember,
And
Brian, in this case, we're not making a resolution like we did the last time. All we're doing is giving him a letter of support.
I know what you're saying. I know. Yeah.
Well, I have nothing else to say on the matter except I'm very, very disappointed in both of you.
Robert, with all due
thank you.
respect, Robert, I don't disagree with you on in this in some aspects, but I'm choosing not to. My boss and the other representatives have direct input on almost any application that's before the Commonwealth Financing Authority. So I'm fine with the liability aspect as said before, but I can't in good conscience without an updated consultation from the House Ethics Council, you know, make a distinction. I actually, you know, read this and I'm comfortable with this information. I can't speak for everyone else on that. But at this point, unless someone else reconsiders, we're gonna have to move on, and this will be disappointing for not.
Jacob, as I said before, I'm very disappointed in your position.
That's fun.
Can I say something? I'm not disappointed in what you're doing. As unethical as many things are today, I think what you're doing, I applaud that.
Appreciate it. I'm sorry that others.
And what basis do you think that his decision is good?
I don't.
Who's this?
Huh?
Robert, I don't think it's good. I think it's ridiculous. I don't understand it at all, but I have to abide by what the House Ethics Council says. I don't, you know, I don't pretend to understand why other supervisors do a lot of things, but I don't, you know, I can't speak to that. I can speak to my position. My position is different than what I might say if I didn't have to recuse myself. I can say I think that area is unsafe, and I wish that someone would realign it. Without saying that it should be this applicant or someone else, I think it should be redone, but I
It's
can't
Ron.
go on this.
As Ron said, Jacob, you could break this tie and he doesn't feel it's an ethical violation.
I could break a tie, but there's
Wait
no
a minute. Wait a minute, Ron. I don't know that that's what he said.
Well, maybe he should state it again. Ron, do you want to state exactly what you said again?
If there was a motion on the floor and you disagreed and Robert disagreed, Supervisor Pride could break the tie by voting if he wanted to without creating an ethics issue. However, that is my opinion. If he wants the opinion of House Ethics Council, then that's what he should get before he has this issue. And maybe moving forward, it would not be a bad idea to see if he could at least second these motions, so at least they get on the floor for further discussion.
We'll see that.
But right
For the
now,
future.
there's nothing. on
When
the
do
floor.
we receive? When do we receive this application?
Julia,
Rod, I
when-
heard you say, Rod,
Yeah, I'm sorry, Brian, go ahead.
yeah, when did you get it?
It was in my package. It's a six.
Today,
six-line-
tonight.
Yes, it was a 6-line letter in my packet that I'm reading now.
Okay, how about this? If there's any way, I'll read that thing if you get it to me. And I'll get in touch with Jacob and let him know if I've changed. That can't they delay a bit, make a request for a continuance?
Not with the application, I don't want to complicate this further, but the township is not required to, consent to the project that's being done. The application only requires that the applicant proves that they notified the municipality. So if we don't get this letter to them stating that the township supports it, that's okay, they can still go after the application and apply and reach their deadline.
Well, let
because
them
we-
go.
Yeah, it was because.
Let
we
it
have-
be.
Yeah,
All right.
I will ask the letter simply that states
All right.
that the town has received notification that the applicant is applying for the grant. And that will satisfy the proof of notification requirement for the grant and will allow them to move on without having to cause more problems down the way.
I just want to state, I had no problem invoking the rule of necessity. I don't think I can do it until there's a second. There's nothing in the public, in the Public Ethics Act that says that you can second it and then invoke it. It has to be on something that's already been seconded. And a vote, conducted among the remaining members that are not conflicting. So if there were a second in this matter, then I would invoke that rule. But because there is not, I cannot. That is why I'm taking this position. It's not because I don't have a feeling on this.
Understood. Well, I'd like to read it. I'd like to read it no matter what.
Okay. That's it on that matter then. Board of Supervisors report, anything to note?
No.
Do I, Robert? None. We have the bills. Total of $69,070.38. Includes regular expenses, healthcare, legal bills. Utilities. Do I hear a motion on that?
Motion.
Mr. Barrett, do I hear a second? Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think
Robert,
his screen
there?
might be frozen.
He just scratched his head though.
abstain.
Can you do that?
Brian, you do it all the time. I don't think either of you can do it. But
I agree. Okay.
any public comments?
Yes,
Peanut galleries on Zoom, they're not in person.
I'd like to set the record straight on the dinosaur park that was the original reason for the Berkheimer grant. I think I know more about this than anyone else, and I was very much in favor of it at the time. Just for the record, Pam Barrett approached us with the idea of doing a children's park with a sort of a dinosaur back that was a slide and a few dinosaur eggs in Minisink Park. And on her own, without any discussion or accordance from the township.
No,
managed to-
that's not right. That's not right. I was the chairman of the board.
Brian,
And
we
she
never.
said, I have an idea. And I said, well, go
Excuse me,
for it.
Brian,
We have
never-
nothing to lose.
Brian.
All
we
right,
never-
Robert,
we never-
listen, I have to go.
Just a minute, Brian. we
Okay.
never-
Make it-
Hear me out, because I'm saying things that are very complimentary, okay?
Well,
Will you let me finish this? Because
certainly.
it wasn't a question of whether we accept it or not. It was a good idea, and I thought it was a great idea. And when we went out to find out what these materials cost, the materials for the park equipment were about $35,000. And then we figured what we had to put in for building the park, and especially the flooring, which has to be something so that children can't get concussions if they fall on it, amounted to about $54,000, which we didn't have. I went out on my own and sought another sculptor who might be able to do the same thing. And I remember I think this was 2016 or 17, going up to Gouldsboro and meeting someone, hoping that we could find a cheaper way to do this. We never did. And then the question came up of where to put it, because both in Minisink Park and in Waterfront Park, where we have children's playgrounds, we already have equipment there and there was no place. And in both of them, we're under great pressure to keep the parking area as big as we can because of the soccer tournaments. So that was sort of strike number two. And the third one was that in Minisink Park, because it's in a floodplain and a flood zone in most areas, the idea of putting in engineered wood or flooring that was certified for playgrounds would either wash away or would rot out. So that's why slowly this thing dissipated and why it was never built. Although I think originally it was a very good idea, and I think it was a very good idea of Pam's. So that's all I wanted to say as a public comment.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass that along.
Please do.
When are you coming home?
Next week. Can't
Safe
wait.
trip. Have a safe trip.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I have a couple things.
Yeah.
Did you find anything out more about the working that's going on up at the wellness center? What's going up there?
I've spoken to Ken Wolf about your concerns. He is currently investigating it.
Okay.
And we're not able to comment on those
Okay.
investigations, but he is looking into it.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for looking into the Cherry Valley Road. That was done.
That was all PennDOT, really.
PennDOT?
Yeah, that's their road, so we can submit complaints and say, hey, there's a pothole here that is this big. But we can only ask kindly and smile. That was really PennDOT taking the initiative and fixing all of that. Honestly, I think it was in the pipeline. Yeah, it was terrifying.
I thought you maybe you tried to beat him up or something.
Not quite, not this time.
But I, like I said, I didn't see if they fixed the actual potholes, because that's a known area, a known problem anyway.
I drove through after they had done repairs on actually Monday night.
Okay.
There wasn't, I was going slow, but I didn't see anything, but you're more familiar with where the area is that you were concerned.
Yeah, I'll drive through it again.
Swing through, if you could just check. If
Yeah.
there's still outstanding issues, we'll come back to that and try again.
It only lasts a couple of years, and then the potholes form again in that spot, so. And then one more question. Are you going to pick up the water gap leaves for free again this fall?
The renewal of the agreement is up in, I cannot remember if it's the end of August or maybe
Okay.
September, but we'll consider it then.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
I just wanted to say thank you for your continued support for Bushville. Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, and I do have one more thing. It's, you can, this was drama here tonight. You come to one of our meetings. Ask the cameraman, he knows, he sees it.
I abstain.
Wise man.
Anybody else? All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Barrett, second by myself. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
All,
There we go.
Good night, all.